In the middle of a heavy storm, a park ranger spotted a mother dog lying in the mud, tears mixing with rain as she cried over her lifeless pup. What unfolded next was something no one expected, a story of heartbreak, resilience, and a miracle that left everyone speechless. The rain poured relentlessly over the forest, turning dirt paths into streams of mud. Ranger Daniel pulled his hood tighter as he trudged along the edge of the reserve. Nights like this were rarely peaceful. Storms often drove frightened animals from their shelters, and Daniel's job was to ensure none were left in danger. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the trees in ghostly flashes. That's when he heard it. Not the usual howl of wolves or rustle of deer, but something different. A sound raw with grief. It was a cry that seemed to claw at the heart, piercing even through the thunder. He stopped in his tracks, straining to listen. There it was again, short, desperate barks tangled with whimpers that sounded almost like sobs. Daniel's pulse quickened. Animals didn't cry like that unless something was terribly wrong. Gripping his flashlight, he veered off the path, pushing through the rain-drenched underbrush. Whatever awaited him ahead was not just routine. Something heartbreaking was calling for help. Daniel pushed through the wet brush until his flashlight beam landed on a clearing. There, in the pouring rain, he froze. A German shepherd lay in the mud, her body hunched protectively over a small, motionless pup. Her fur was soaked, but it wasn't the rain that struck him. It was the tears glistening in her eyes. She whimpered softly, pressing her nose against the tiny body, nudging it as though begging her pup to wake. Every sound she made carried grief so raw that Daniel's chest tightened. He had seen animals injured before, but never had he seen one cry with such human-like sorrow. The pup's sides moved faintly, shallow breaths barely keeping him alive. Mud clung to his fur, and crimson marks streaked across his small frame. The mother let out another broken cry, her gaze lifting toward Daniel. In that moment, he felt the weight of her silent plea. This wasn't just survival. It was love, desperate and unwavering. Daniel took a cautious step forward, lowering his flashlight so the beam wouldn't startle her. The mother dog growled weakly, her body trembling as she shielded her pup. He raised his hand slowly, voice steady against the storm. "Easy, girl. I'm here to help." His words were swallowed by thunder, but his calm tone reached her. For a long moment, she didn't move. Her ears pinned back, teeth bared, yet her eyes told a different story, fear mixed with hope. She wanted to protect her baby, but she knew she couldn't save him alone. Rain trickled down Daniel's face as he knelt in the mud, making himself smaller, less threatening. Finally, she stepped aside just enough for him to reach. Daniel's heart pounded as he pressed two fingers gently against the pup's side. A faint heartbeat. Weak, fragile, but still there. Relief surged through him. Though urgency followed close behind, he scooped the pup carefully into his arms, cradling it against his chest. The mother whimpered and immediately pressed to his side, eyes locked on her baby. Daniel whispered, "We're not giving up on him." And with that, the desperate race for life began. Daniel rose to his feet, clutching the limp pup carefully against his chest. The rain hammered harder, soaking through his jacket, but he didn't slow. Every second mattered. He could feel the faint flutter of life beneath his hands, fragile, fleeting, but still fighting. "Hold on, little one," he whispered through gritted teeth. Beside him, the mother German shepherd ran tirelessly, her eyes locked on the pup. She slipped in the mud more than once, but each time she scrambled back up, refusing to fall behind. Her cries echoed through the storm, part sorrow, part determination, as though urging her baby not to give up. The path back to his truck seemed endless, flooded with water and littered with fallen branches. Daniel pushed forward, lungs burning, his boots sinking into the muck. Every gust of wind, every crash of thunder, felt like nature itself was fighting them. Yet the bond between mother and pup fueled him. This wasn't just about saving an animal. It was about preserving a love too pure to be lost to the storm. The truck screeched to a halt outside the small veterinary clinic, headlights cutting through sheets of rain. Daniel leapt out, shielding the fragile pup beneath his jacket. The mother dog was right behind him, her paws slapping against the wet pavement, her cries raw with desperation. Inside, the vet team was already waiting. Alerted by Daniel's urgent call, they rushed the pup onto a metal table, voices sharp with commands as supplies were pulled. Oxygen, gauze, warm blankets. The fight for life began instantly. But the mother wasn't allowed inside the room. She clawed at the door, her nails screeching against the wood, her whimpers breaking into sobs that pierced the hallway. Daniel knelt beside her, stroking her damp fur, whispering, "They're helping him. He's not alone." Minutes dragged like hours. The storm outside raged on, but all that mattered was the silent war being fought behind the clinic door. The mother pressed her face against the crack, ears twitching at every muffled sound. Her tail did not move, her body did not rest. Every breath she took seemed tied to her baby's fragile heartbeat that at last. The door opened, and the vet stepped out, her face grim beneath the harsh fluorescent lights. Daniel stood quickly, the mother dog rushing forward with hopeful eyes. But the vet's expression told him this wasn't just a matter of survival. It was something darker. "The pup is alive," she said softly, "but his injuries, they aren't from the storm." She hesitated, glancing back into the room before continuing. "These wounds were inflicted deliberately. Blunt force trauma, bruises too patterned to be natural. Someone hurt him." The words hit Daniel like thunder. He felt his chest tighten, his fists clench. The mother dog whimpered, as though she understood, her gaze flicking between the vet and the door. Tears welled again in her eyes as she pressed against the doorframe, desperate to reach her pup. That Daniel's jaw hardened. This wasn't just a rescue anymore. It was evidence of cruelty. "We'll find out who did this," he muttered, his voice low with determination. The vet nodded, already preparing her report. In the corner of the hallway, the mother sat down heavily, her body trembling but her spirit unbroken. Her tears spoke for her. She would never stop fighting for her baby. The night stretched endlessly, but just before dawn, the clinic door opened once more. This time, the vet carried a gentler expression. "He's fighting," she said, her voice carrying cautious hope. The pup, though weak, had stabilized. His breathing was steady, his heartbeat stronger than before. It was a fragile victory, but a victory nonetheless. The mother dog leapt to her feet, tail wagging weakly, eyes wide with relief. She pressed her nose against the vet's hands, desperate to reach her pup. When the tiny bundle was finally returned to a blanket-lined crate, the mother climbed in beside him, curling protectively around his frail body. Her cries, once filled with anguish, shifted into soft, hopeful whimpers. Daniel exhaled deeply, tension easing from his shoulders. He had witnessed many rescues, but nothing like this. A mother's love powerful enough to defy cruelty and storm alike. As the pup nuzzled weakly against her, the room grew quiet. Everyone watching knew they weren't just seeing survival. They were witnessing a miracle. In the days that followed, the story spread through town like wildfire. Outrage fueled the search for those responsible, and justice began to move swiftly. People who had never cared for strays now brought food, blankets, and donations. All inspired by the mother's tears and her unbreakable devotion, Daniel often returned to the clinic, watching as the pup slowly grew stronger beneath his mother's constant care. To him, the lesson was clear. He thought he had rescued them, but in truth, their story had rescued everyone who heard it. A reminder of love's power to endure even the deepest cruelty.